Just last week, you christened the City Council chambers, naming after the former City Council President Marvin Arrington Sr. You called him President Emeritus.
Yes, yes.
We'll talk about Marvin, but some are now saying you're standing in his footsteps, and you may well be the female version of Marvin in terms of your clout, your significance, and your influence.
Well, I'm certainly aspiring to be anything close to Marvin Arrington. He, as I told him at the council meeting, because he was, I am. And I'm the council president because of Marvin Arrington. I came to city council as an aide first to Gloria Bermel-Tanubu in District 12. And he was the president and council then. And I just saw the influence that he wielded and how he kept it together. Now, I didn't always agree with him. I actually fought with him on a couple of issues. But I just saw the presence that he brought to the council, the stability. And I said, you know, one day I would love to be, that would be something I'd like to be.
You wanted to be council
That
member.
was before I even thought about being a council member.
But do you singly, according to many, bring that same presence and cloud and influence yourself? Is that purposeful or just a natural you?
Well, if that is what I'm bringing, I'm happy to know that I'm doing that because I'm certainly emulating someone who we all hold in high esteem.
What is it you think you are doing as city council? How do you distinguish yourself in that role? And what difference does it make to the voters?
Well, I've distinguished myself in the role by, just doing the work. I said just as I was a council member, I said I wanted to be the council member that I wanted to have. And I served 20 years as a council member doing that and setting myself about that. And then I also said that I wanted to be the council president that I wanted to have. And when I went out to the voters, I told them there were very specific things that I wanted to do and that were of interest to me. I'm a kind of a student of parliamentary procedure, so I like parliamentary procedure and order, and I wanted to see us operate with more procedure and more order. And then I also had the interest in three things that I use as my platform, which were transparency, ethics, and accountability. And so I wanted to take the time, now that I was president and not responsible for a specific district, to really have that time to formulate legislation, and I've been able to do that on the ethics and transparency and accountability front.
How do you rank this council? You've been on the council for years. Some say city council members have been a pushover for the incumbent mayor, particularly under Kasim Reed. How do you look at this council's job performance in terms of being their own people?
I say so far so good. It's a lot different than when I was on council. And I think a majority of that has to do with the fact that we have, at this time now, with the addition of Antonio Brown, a majority of new council members. And so many of them are not tied to what has happened in the past, and they are being independent. And so I hope that continues. I know how city council goes. You stay in an environment long enough, you sort of meld into the environment. So I certainly
Or you
hope
become a politician.
Exactly. So I'm hoping that continues, that trend continues. And you saw that with some of our major issues, like the Gulch vote and others. They just didn't sell through as they probably normally would. They took time.
I want to get to the goals in a minute, but you mentioned Antonio Brown.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned to you when you were in Grant Park,
Mm-hmm.
he had said during his acceptance speech, or when he was named to city council, that he hoped that you and the mayor would work better together. Is there any friction between you and the mayor? Is there
I think we're both operating in our own lanes, and we're both doing what we need to do on behalf of the citizens of Atlanta. I haven't had any political battles with her in any way.
Anticipate any?
Well, I mean, you live long enough, you might have anything's possible.
What about Antonio Brown? What has he brought to the council? The youngest member, the newest member, and also the first bisexual member.
Well, I think he's been a breath of fresh air. He's new, he's different. I believe that his election has a subplot there that people should pay attention to. And I've just been observing him, listening to some of his ideas, and he's not coming with the normal ideas. He has some big and bold ideas. It's just a matter of him, first of all, getting to understand how city government operates and how it doesn't, and then how he's able to see some of the things he wants to do become a reality.
Now you intrigued me. Antonio Brown's something that many people haven't recognized.
Okay, I knew you wouldn't miss that one. I think the subplot is, and that small sampling of people who voted, they took a chance on someone that they didn't know. Antonio doesn't come with the background that most people have. He wasn't involved in the MPUs of the neighborhood that you saw him in City Hall. He just came with a passion to be able to serve, and people chose that. And I think that for elected officials, we really have to pay attention to that. And that's not just happening here, it's happening across the country. People want to build their confidence in their elected officials and their city government again. And they're willing to take chances with unknowns and people that they don't know in order to hope that they can get that.
Do we see that happen also with the younger people being elected? Different genders, different ideas. I mean, are we? What's
I don't know if it's so much about age, race, sexual orientation, or any of that. I just think that sometimes people want to see not the usual people that they see. They want to see outsiders to get inside and maybe change some things.
This is a new breed city council, is it not? Across the board. You said the youngest we've ever had, right?
Well, we have a lot of younger members, a lot of millennials, and it's a lot more new. I think this is maybe the first time we had a majority of them being new members.
Is that tough on you? Being the veteran there and kind of wrangling this?
No, actually it makes it easier, because old dogs are hard to get So, I think it's easier when new people come in because they're seeking and wanting to know how to operate, what to do. And so it makes it a lot easier than those who may have been there and are used to things happening in a certain way and are sort of reticent to change.
Speaking of things operating a certain way,
Okay.
there are those who suspect, and I'm among those, I've been covering politics for 40 years. Atlanta's on the precipice of change. This is a new Atlanta we're witnessing in housing patterns across the board. Is this a new day for the city of Atlanta?
Well, I mean, every day is a new day, I think. And I think that every organism, everything in the world has a time when it's a period of change in a different season. And I do think that we are seeing Atlanta open up to more people. And more people are coming to Atlanta. I was just out the other day for dinner and I was looking at all of the cranes. I was telling Fred, I said, this is Atlanta's favorite bird, the crane. And there are many cranes. And what they're building are high-rise, big density buildings. Now, I don't know where all these cars are going to go and the streets, but we're bringing a lot of people into Atlanta and we're projecting a doubling of our population. A lot of people are very much attracted to Atlanta, and many of them are not necessarily just black people. That are,
That's what I'm saying. It's changed. It's not a black city anymore.
Well, it is still a black city in terms of the number of people, but that may change. And I think it's becoming much more diverse.
Is gentrification a major issue or concern to you? That those who bellow or cry that they're losing their homes, they can't stay in Southwest Atlanta or West End anymore. I mean, the face of Atlanta is changing, and there are those who say it's not fair.
Well, okay, the gentrification issue may have to do with some of the people that come in, because the root word of gentrification is gentry, with the people who have money. So we do have a lot of people who are coming in who are making higher levels of income, and so that's one part of it. But the other part of it is just that we have a finite amount of housing space. We're building new housing, and new people are coming in, and they don't always look like the same people that are there. And so housing affordability, I like to call it, is an issue that everybody talks about. And there's some things that we're doing, and there are many more things that we should do. But I think one of the single greatest threats to everyday citizens is the fact that Fulton County and the Fulton County Tax Assessor's Office has not figured out what we're going to do with these property tax assessments. I don't mean to get in the weeds, but I am a policy wonk. So the weeds matter and the details matter.
And the impact folks.
And the impact matters. And the fact that, we have had many years where we have not been assessing our properties properly. And so we are woefully behind what the market rate is, and the state law requires them to assess it based on market rate value. So that's why in 2016 you saw the big uproar when people's bills had increased 200 and 300% because they were catching them up to the market. Well, nobody can pay that kind of money immediately just because somebody came and assessed their property. Well, right now we're on a freeze on those 2016 values, but that issue has not been resolved. And as we begin to get those assessments up, the single greatest threat, I believe, to our citizens are going to be the ability to be able to pay the property taxes that keep them in their home. And particularly, that goes with our fixed income and those on the lower income levels.
Well, there are also those who admit that we're giving away to stores, to big developers, like going into the Gulch and things like that. Is it fair we give so much to big developers and take so much from people who've been there all their lives?
I don't mind if you have a piece of pie as long as I can have one too. And I think that's the problem, that citizens have just gotten to a boiling point where they're like, look, we have potholes in our streets, we have affordability, housing problems, we have all of these things, and you can, with the struggle of a quick vote, give billions of dollars of tax incentive to someone else, but what about me? And I think we've got to be able to do both. More healthy. I don't know that we even have any more incentives to give them.
But you rejected the Gulch and all that development first, and you came back, took it back, and then passed it.
Well, the council never did reject it. They just never got to a vote.
That's true.
Because there wasn't enough votes. You have to be able to count to eight. And when you got to 8, then it passed.
Good thing you think? Did you vote? Well, you didn't.
I didn't vote for it. If it was a tie, I would have voted no. I think that there were a lot of more details that could have happened, but many of the problems, I believe, with the Gulch wasn't at the time when it was before us for a vote. It's how we engage our citizens when we're going to have those major votes. People want to be a part of the process. People talk about wanting a community benefits agreement. It's not a new thing. It's something that's done across the country where the citizens can feel confident to put down on paper exactly what it is that they are expecting. I will give the mayor a lot of kudos on this, on the Gulch deal, in that there were what you could consider community benefits baked into this agreement. That's unprecedented, and that's never happened before, so she does get big marks for doing that.
But did you two arm wrestle over that? You said you would have voted against it. Did you count heads yourself? Did you lobby against it?
I did not. I didn't lobby for it. I believe my role as council president. If you ask me my opinion, I'll give it to you. But I do think that it's the council, they are the decision makers. I was a council member, so I want to respect the council as I would want to be respected if I was a council member. And I allow them to make their own decision.
I didn't know you've been a councilman. There are other council presidents who lobby vigorously for or against legislation.
On this one, it wasn't something that I needed to lobby one way or the other. I didn't lobby for them not to. I certainly shared my concerns with council members, I certainly did, and or either asked them to make sure they looked into this or that as they had their deliberations. And I'm a member of every committee of council, and when necessary, I got there and I asked my questions as well. I can bring the questions out, I can bring the information out, but the vote is done by the council.
Who was the strongest council person other than you? Who do you think has stood out and kind of flexed their muscles and become a real council leader other than yourself?
Well, I'm not a council member, so it wouldn't be me. I think there's several members who have been working really hard. I don't know that they call themselves, but I know that several of them have done major initiatives. Jennifer she co-sponsored, sponsored the legislation that I introduced about the compliance office.
That's a new councilman.
There's a new councilman, Andre Dickens, sponsored legislation that I authored about creating independent procurement review officers. He's done several pieces of his own. Even Mr. Westmoreland he's out there now with
the new councilman.
With the smoking ban in the city. He's done others. Amir Farouqi's been very aggressive.
New councilman. From this district.
Right, on brooding and other initiatives. So several of them have all been in the play.
Explain to the public how you get your legislation to you. You're still working as a council member mentally, but you have somebody else introduce it. Is that true?
Well, I think that ideas can come from all quarters. One from council members, the president, and most of the legislation, or a lot of it, comes from the mayor's office. So if I have an idea and I do draft the legislation, I would have to get a council member who is interested in it. They would introduce it, and the council would deliberate.
For the past year, Atlanta has had national headlines and local headlines. AJC is at a field day, journalistically, with the so-called city hall corruption. Folks have gone to jail, heads have rolled. Mayor Kasim Reed's been under a dark cloud, not charged anymore. What is going on? Are we a corrupt city? Are things that bad? You've been here 20 years. Things that bad at City Hall?
Well, I mean, many of the things that are in the news are things that I was not aware of. And you know, I fight what I can fight, and what I can see, and what we dealt with at City Council. But many of these things that have come up are things that have happened behind the scenes that we weren't aware of. I do believe that we have a lot more yet to be revealed.
Do you really?
Almost definitely.
More folks headed to jail, you think?
I would suspect, yeah. I think so. There will be more indictments. So that's why it's really people are hyper focused on whatever we can do to make sure that we're looking at how we do things at City Hall so that we can mitigate this. You can never stop a criminal from doing a criminal act, but you can certainly make it harder for them. In that vein, the mayor has the public trust task force. They are operating and they're meeting, and we're certainly looking forward to them coming up with some recommendations, or even helping us to understand if we need to strengthen what we already have.
Are you or any of the council members under a cloud of suspicion?
I am not under a cloud.
You sure?
I am sure. I am a sunshine, shining bright. There will be no handcuffs on my name.
No handcuffs with you.
Now, I can't speak for anyone else, and most of, like I said, majority of our members are new. I don't think that I know of any particular instance.
I'll tell you what I've heard, though. You know, Atlanta's been led by black elected officials and mayors since Major Jackson, 77. Those who suspect now that black leadership, black mayors become greedy, underhanded. I mean, it seems like it's cast an aspersion on black political leadership.
Well, that's only for those people who want to look at corruption and say that it's black people. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be going to Philadelphia to meet with other council presidents from across the country. And they asked me to speak on what I want to speak on. And of course, I'm going to talk about transparency, ethics, and accountability. To that end, I had my staff working on some stuff, and I did a lot of research today. The feds are busy all over this country. Chicago, Philadelphia, Jackson, Detroit. I can just go on and on and on. Or Dayton, Ohio, the Dayton, Ohio area, maybe 2 or 3 cities. But what I'm saying is, they are in city government all across this country. And when I look at the pictures, they're mostly white. Most of them are white, but that matters. I've seen a few Hispanics and a few blacks. But of course, you know, when the media is going to report on something, they look at the major metropolitan cities. But this is happening, and feds are busy everywhere. It's not just Atlanta.
No handcuffs in your name.
Not a handcuff of mine.
Let's talk about, I'm going to have 2 or 3 more questions.
Okay, I'm fine.
Let's talk about work source development. It's been on a cloud of suspicion, money given back. Are they doing their job? You think?
It's been a mess since I've been a council member and before. I remember
Since
that was
before you were a council.
Yeah. And when I became a council member, that was one of the first quote unquote little scandals that we dealt with, was dealing with workforce. And it's just been one director after another, after board, after problems, and they're being sent back, or people want to. I mean, it's just been a problem. I personally, even beyond the problems, have always advocated that we need to continue to have our workforce development agency because people need jobs. And I just hate to take that tool away from the city. As you know, we had an audit, I guess maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and they said we just need to close it down, shut it down, get out of the business. But I'm hopeful that.
So you voted in favor of keeping it open, did you not?
We didn't have to vote.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just a recommendation from the internal audit. I always try to remain hopeful that we'll get our act together.
There is a June 30th deadline, I'm told, with regard to the audit or money or something.
Well, it's money, I think that they have to spend by June 30th. If not, it goes back to the state. And then the state will reappropriate it to other workforce agencies. What's unusual is that usually the city of Atlanta having a workforce agency is unusual in and of itself. Fulton County has one. So typically, the cities don't have their own individual.
Is the city of Atlanta and Fulton County government still at loggerheads? There was a time under the past administration, both Fulton County and the city, that they didn't get along.
Well, I get along with Rocky, who's the chairman. So, and he hasn't expressed to me any concerns that he has with the city at this point. So I think we're getting along.
What vision do you have for this city council president? What's your vision for where Atlanta's going under your doing the next 2 years?
Well, in the next 2 years of office, I am laser focused on two things, although I'm doing more than two. One is the transparency, ethics, and accountability of any and everything that I can do as an elected official to help make sure that we are gaining public confidence. The other one has been in that vein, making sure that we can maintain control of our airport. And then other than that, I'm doing other things. One, some things with youth, and I'm certainly also focused on small, medium-sized businesses. As a matter of fact, on June 10th, I have my second installment for this year for Atlanta Business Matters, where we're going to have a forum focused on supplier development and diversity, and actually having people that can help small, medium-sized business not only do business, not just with the city, we're talking about major corporations, but also how they can find the capital. That's the main thing. How can you find the money to be able to get yourself in a position to get those businesses?
Are you still concerned? Is there still a threat being held over your head and the city council's head about airport takeover? Is that still
Almost definitely. The cycle for the legislature is a 2-year cycle. So that legislation is still alive. So it will come back in January. Now, whether they let it lie dormant or whether it resurges again, I don't know. But we will have to wait and see. But the threat has been there for 20 years or so or more. But this is the first time it's gotten as far as it's gotten.
Is this an uglier, meaner, more anti-Atlanta legislature?
I think that it's the same the same motivations that there were before. People want the airport. It's a golden goose. And with the corruption investigations and indictments and prison time for people, it only gives them ammunition to choose.
Last time I saw you was in what I call your road show in Grant Park. It's a conversation with the community. Now, to the casual observer, it looked like you were campaigning.
Okay.
And what was that about?
It was about connecting with the community and connecting with citizens. I did this when I was a council member. You go to a location, you help to be able, because I like to promote businesses, a small business. You tell people, if you want to come talk with me, I'm going to be there from this time to this time. And people come and we talk. I talk to them one-on-one, and then we talked as a group. Had some coffee and donuts or whatever else, and we were going.
People really seem to gravitate towards you that day. One of the gentlemen was here now. It was there that day. I mean, it seemed warm and almost intimate in terms of your one.
And that was the point. Because you can go to a neighborhood meeting or an MP meeting or community meeting, and it's really regimented and based on their agenda. And this was more of an informal setting that you can just sit down and have a few minutes, and we can talk about what you want to talk about, or follow up with you later.
Neighborhood planning units once had tremendous clout in this city. They were a force to be reckoned with. No longer?
I'm not going to say that. There's still the official body that the city listens to. As a matter of fact, today, Community Development Committee, the Center for Civic Innovation, they've taken it upon themselves to go in and and review the NPU system to see if they can come up with some other recommendations. I think it just needs another jump start so that we get other people, and it stands for Neighborhood Planning Unit, so we can get other people involved and engaged. I think people have gotten to the point where they either don't know about the NPU or for one reason or another they don't want to go. But we need to get it revigorated again.
City Council President Moore, it's been whispered, it's been asked.
I knew you was going to ask me.
Will you run for mayor? Are you our next mayor?
No, well, I don't know. Let me put it this way. I am in the position that I've always wanted. I told you about Marvin, and that was something I said when I get through a council member, I want to be council president. I plan to be council president. I plan to run again for council president. And then in the future, after I'm council president and there's an open seat, I may run for mayor. But right now, I'm focused on doing this one.
Do you want to be mayor like you want to be council president?
At this point, I want to be council president. And if I have an opportunity to be mayor, I'll take it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, our City Council President, Lisa Moore. And I suspect our next mayor.
Yes. All right, photos.
Come on, EJ, photos.
Mike.
Or here's Jim. Come on, Jim.
Are you waiting on me? I know you're not waiting on me. I'm too old to get there fast. So, Maynard, you've done it again, huh?
I knew you was gonna slip this question.
All right. So I think Atlanta is at a pivotal place in its history right now with Felicia Moore as its council president. I think that she's looking more and more like a mayoral candidate and more like a person who really understands the city. And I welcome your insight, and I welcome your approach to things, because it is unifying, not dividing. We need unity in this city, and we now have it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Newsmakers.